Okay, today we're installing an R32 A2L split system. So the unit we're replacing is a 40-year-old R22 system. Before I can recover the refrigerant out, I need to pull a vacuum on my new recovery tank here. Now I need to hoist everything up on the roof, all my tools and supplies. I'm going to turn the power off to the unit, take the side panels off, disconnect our 40-volt three-phase wires coming into the unit, as well as our thermostat wires. We're going to reuse the disconnect switch, and we're going to reuse the thermostat wires and the line set. And so, since I've recovered the refrigerant out of the system, obviously I can disconnect our line set as well. Again, I'm just simply going to disconnect the disconnect switch from the side of the old unit, because we're going to reuse it. The power is off. We have it off at the circuit breaker. And I'm simply cutting the copper tube on the suction line and discharge line. I'm going to gently pull those out of the unit. Now everything's disconnected. Got to pull the unit out of the way and get it ready for the crane. And the new unit arrived. This is an A2L R32 refrigerant system. There's a new condensing unit. It's a Daikin. It's a 3-ton system. There's the evaporator coil. Here's the air handler furnace. It's a gas-fired natural gas forced air furnace. 80%. There's some parts inside of it, so you want to take the panels off to inspect. And the manual is down in the bottom. This piece here goes on top to connect up to the exhaust pipe. Goes up top like so. You can see the heat exchanger there. Just going to secure this in place while I'm here. Because this is an A2L R32 system, you notice there's no louvers anywhere on the front or side of the cabinet. The way it brings fresh air in, combustion air, is through this opening here. So per the instructions, I'll have to install a PVC pipe and an elbow or a U-bend to bring fresh air into the combustion chamber. A better view. Here's your heat exchanger, blower motor down below the heat exchanger. And so this one had the wires coming out the right side. That's not going to work for our application. We need it coming in on the left side, right here. So I'm going to drill my holes. I'm going to reuse the mounting hardware, and then I'll have to patch or cover those existing holes, again, because it's an A2L slightly flammable refrigerant. You don't want to have holes in the cabinet. A2L refrigerant were to leak out, you don't want it getting inside the combustion chamber. And so this is where our 120 volt single phase power will come in to the furnace. Drill my mounting holes for the screws. Got my J-box. Clean up my holes. Black hot wire, white neutral wire. Don't forget your green ground wire. I'm trying to get everything prepped as much as I can before I bring it into the occupied suite and up on the roof. I'm doing this in a vacant suite, so that was nice. There's our wiring schematic. Here's our ignition control board. Here's our owner's manual. This is one of those ECM blower motors, multi-speed motor. Literature. So the instructions, like I was saying, because it's A2L, I need to install a PVC fresh air intake and also this gasket and this metal plate because they want everything sealed. A crane arrived. We're going to lift the new unit onto the roof. Then we'll hook up the old unit and lift the old unit off the roof. Trying to get the old unit balanced and find a good way to rig it up so it was safe to lift. Just communicating with the crane operator. So we'll hook up the straps. And you want to make sure you have everything ready to lift off the roof before the crane arrives, because cranes can be expensive to rent. So I usually try to disconnect the old system on the roof the day before. That way the following morning it's ready to lift off for the crane. There we go. There's the old equipment ready to haul away. Refrigerant's been recovered out of the system. So we'll place the new condenser unit where we need it. And I need to position it so the existing refrigerant line set can line up with it. That's important. And sitting on top of some pressure treated 4x4s. I also need to make a stand for the disconnect switch, because on the new unit there's no good place to mount the disconnect switch on the side of the unit. We'd be blocking the panels or blocking the hail guards and the condenser coil. We don't want to do that. So just using some unistrut, some corner brackets, some pressure treated lumber, joist hangers. Here's a new unit. We'll take this side cover off. There's our capacitor or contactor. So we'll bring in our wires. Here's a wiring schematic. This is a three-phase condensing unit. So there's the disconnect switch mounted. We've got our hot wires hooked up. Again, the power is still off. Now we just need to hook up the wires to the condenser itself. Again, just unistrut. And some rain tight or liquid tight connectors and flexible conduit. We've got our 3 hots and our green ground. And these connectors, you just tighten them down like so. Pretty easy to use. And remember, being 3-phase, you want to be careful when you first turn on the condensing unit that your compressor is spinning in the proper direction and that your condenser cooling fan is spinning in the proper direction. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean the line set. You can see all the junk that came out of the old line set. So just did a line set flush. And you can braze or use this Stay Bright 8 solder to reconnect your copper refrigerant line set. So I'm just going to clean everything off nicely on the new unit. I flux sparingly. You want to get a whole bunch of flux inside because you don't want the flux getting inside your compressor oil or your compressor or your messing things up. But this stuff works great. Don't have to get it as hot as if you were going to be brazing. It's nice. Or you might be able to use those push to connect HVAC rated fittings. That's another option. Then you want to keep your valves cool, whether you're brazing or soldering with Stay Bright 8. You want to put a nice cold wet rag around your service valves because you don't want to overheat those, obviously. And try to keep your flame away from the service valves. That's the other nice thing about using Stay Bright 8 and a MAP gas torch here. You can see it hardly takes any time at all. I'll do the same thing on the discharge line. So I like that I don't have to put a lot of heat near those service valves for a long period of time. And the Stay Bright 8 can handle the pressure of the system. And same thing, a nice cold wet rag around the service valve, trying to keep the heat and flame away from the service valve. trying to stay out of the way of the camera so you can see what I'm doing. And you want to let it cool down naturally. You don't want to put cold water on it and shock it. That's bad. If it cools down a little bit, then you can wipe it clean with the clean rag. Make it look nice. There we go. So the condenser on the roof is installed. We will not release the refrigerant yet because we still got to do a nitrogen test and then do a decay test with our vacuum pump. Let's go downstairs here on the evaporator. We need to cut this loose. When you cut it loose, you should hear a purging noise of the nitrogen that's inside the unit. That's normal, comes from the factory that way. So we got the unit placed. You got our PVC fresh air intake, our exhaust hooked up to the old exhaust, our gas line in place, thermostat wire. This is an oil trap on the suction line. And the oil trap is a place to collect the oil so you don't flood the evaporator with oil when the condensing unit shuts off. So here they require us to do a safety switch on the evaporator drain pan. So if the evaporator fills up with water because the P-trap gets clogged, it'll shut the AC unit off. So I like to dry fit everything first. This is the safety switch, just a float switch. And then I dry fit all of my condensate P-trap here. This one's nice because you have clean out ports and a clear P-trap. And it goes down to a condensate pump because we don't have a floor drain nearby. And we're leaving an air gap at the end of that pipe that you see, so it's not going to be sitting in the water. And it goes out the tube, up out the back of the suite to the nearest floor drain. We glued everything together. Got our sediment trap on our gas line. And this unit needs an A2L refrigerant detection sensor. This is what it looks like. I had to buy this separately. The new furnace and condenser did not come with the A2L refrigerant sensor. This gets mounted down inside by the evaporator. Comes with a nice long cord. You can see how I had to mount it. I went through that rubber seal there and then did a anti-short bushing, like a plastic anti-short bushing down through the cabinet. I didn't know any other way to route the cable, to be honest with you. I didn't feel comfortable routing it down through where the heat exchanger goes. And I didn't see anywhere where the manufacturer gives you a clear path to run the cable. Yeah, unless I missed it, I couldn't find anything in the installation instructions either. But that's how I had to run the cable. So when I brought it down here, I cut it. There you can see I spliced the wires back together, put a zip tie to secure it. And then it just plugs right in here on the board. So you can see everything's hooked up. So back up on the roof at the condensing unit, I did a nitrogen test. It held for 15 minutes, didn't leak down. So then I went ahead and released the nitrogen and hooked up my vacuum pump, pulled a vacuum. You want to get it at or below 500 microns. If it passes that decay test, then you can go ahead and open the service valves and release the refrigerant charge out of the condensing unit into the line set and the evaporator coil. Then I'll flip on the unit and make sure that everything's spinning in the proper direction. And I did an amp check with my clamp on amp meter and all three hot legs going to the compressor. Condenser cooling fan spinning properly. And because this line set is longer than 15 feet, I had to add about a half to 3/4 of a pound of refrigerant. So we're doing a check. We got 65 degrees here on our return and 47 on our supply. That's downstairs at the air handler. We're going to check for the furnace. So I turn on the gas. I'm checking for leaks at all my joints with bubble leak detector. My inlet gas pressure and outlet gas pressure on the gas valve. And the manufacturer gives you a range. We're at 8.6 inches of water column on the inlet of the gas valve. 10 is a max, so we're within tolerance. And this kind, you don't take that Allen all the way out. You just unscrew it a couple turns, so just FYI. Okay, and then now I'm going to check the outlet gas pressure. And we want it to be around, or ideally at 3.5 inches water column. So we got to check that when the unit starts and runs. And adjust it in real time if need be. See the hot surface igniter is glowing. The gas valve should open. And the burner should light. There we go. So you can see we're a tiny bit high. I want to let it settle out here for a few minutes, but it looks a little bit high. So again, I want that down around 3.5 inches of water column. What I'm going to do while it's running, we're at 3.62 is where it's settled out. So again, I want it a little bit lower. The flames look good, steady blue flames, no rollout, no lift off. So to get it to 3.5 inches of water column, I'm just going to slowly adjust this flathead screw right here. I already moved the little white plastic cover that goes over the screw. I'm just doing a quarter turn at a time roughly. And see, that was a little bit too low. I'll show you what I'm doing. Just going to turn it back to the right a little bit. Just about there. There we go. Now double check it again. And make sure you close those Allen ports on your test ports on that gas valve. That's important, obviously. Draft reducer fans running. Hot surface igniter is glowing red. Gas valve should open. Burners ignite. Looking good. Everything sounds good. Looks normal. You can also do a combustion analysis if you have that tool. This unit's good to go. I hope this video helps you. And remember to hook up your A2L refrigerant leak detection sensor. I'd like to tell you about a practical facilities maintenance handbook, available now in ebook and paperback format. It has common facilities, documents, signage, tags, as well as resource and training material, and common shop equipment drawings that you can use to fabricate shop equipment for your facility. The link for this book is in the video description below. Or if you need shirts, hats, mugs, or weather-resistant decals for your facility, there is a link in the video description below for this online facilities maintenance store. I hope you find this helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and thanks for watching.